This is my TS Customs 7PRC, and this is the 7PRC barrel cut down test. One of the most common questions we get, or what a guy gets hung up on when ordering a rifle, is the barrel length. Now it goes without saying, but obviously a longer barrel is going to tend to have more speed, whereas the shorter barrel is going to be much handier in the field. This only gets magnified when you add that 6 to 9 inch suppressor on the end of it. So it kind of got me thinking, is there an optimal barrel length for the 7PRC? Well, that's exactly what we set out to find in this test. Testing started off at 26 inches, and we took 2 inches off at each stage of this test until we got to that 16-inch barrel that you see there. We also recorded 3 shot velocity averages with not just factory box ammo, but 3 what we feel would be real-world hand loads. For factory ammo, we used the Hornady Precision Hunter 175 grain ELDX. For hand loads, we ran the 195 grain Berger EOL with Hagen Retumbo. We also ran the Berger 175 grain Elite Hunter with H1000 and Sierra's 165 TGK with H4831 shortcut. It is worth noting that this barrel had around 1,400 rounds on it at the beginning of this test from the work that we did on a 7PRC cartridge guide. We have this cartridge guide posted on the blog section of our website. For our baseline numbers at 26 inches, the 195 EOL chronographed at 2,900 feet per second. The 175 grain ELDX factory load was running just shy of 3,000 feet per second, with the 175 Elite Hunter at 3025. The 165 Sierra TGK was running 3150. We then disassembled the rifle, took the barrel over the lathe, cutting 2 inches off, making it a 24-inch barrel, rethreaded, recrowned. The rifle was then reassembled, and each load was shot and recorded again. Then it was back to assembly to pull the barrel, take another 2 inches off, put it back together, and so on and so forth until we ended up at 16 inches. Did we find an ideal barrel length for the 7PRC? I believe what matters most is what matters more for you. If speed is your main concern, then you should probably run a barrel as long as you're comfortable with running. I personally love speed in the 7PRC. This is a new 26-inch barrel that I'll be running suppressed. Out here we don't really have a bunch of trees or brush that you have to try to get through. The only time it's really an inconvenience for me is when I'm going in and out of the vehicle or in and out of our shooting window here. And if the overall length of the rifle is your main concern, well, here's some data to help you decide just how short you can go with that barrel and still be comfortable with the velocities. I found it very interesting just how close everything performed as far as the velocity losses go. In fact, I really had to zoom in on this graph of overall velocity losses from 26 inches down to 16, as all the loads performed within 40 feet per second of one another. This next graph shows we found the average velocity loss per inch of barrel with the 7PRC was 32.7 to 36.6 feet per second. And this graph here shows you the performance of all 4 loads from 16 inches all the way to 26 inches. Everything in this test ended up being pretty linear. Now for the hand loader, tweaking your powder charge or switching powders for different barrel lengths, depending on what bullet you're using, might yield slightly better results than this. But for the sake of this test, all the loads were kept the same from the start at 26 inches all the way until the end at 16. Now our most popular barrel lengths in the 7PRC builds are going to be the 20 to 22 inch range, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's better than any other length. It all comes down to what your personal need is going to be and what kind of velocities you want out of what weight bullet. So I hope the graphs have kind of helped you make that decision for yourself. Guys that want to shoot the 195, you're probably going to be trending that 22 to 26 inch length. Whereas if you're okay shooting a lighter weight bullet, by all means go as short as you're comfortable with. Another thing to consider when choosing your barrel length is muzzle blast. Now for you guys that aren't going to be running suppressors or can't run suppressors, it was very noticeable once I got to 20 inches in this test and below, the muzzle blast that I was that I could feel on my face as I shot. On the other hand, the things that the guys running suppressors want to consider when you start getting that short in a Magnum is your suppressor actually rated to handle short-barreled Magnums? Hope you found this information useful and that it helps you make the right choice on what barrel length you're going to use on your 7 PRC. If you have any further questions, feel free to leave us a comment, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our future content. Thanks for watching.